All right. I'm going to get started, Georgia. That's okay.
That's okay.
If that is okay.
That is okay.
I got to pull up an ad first. I got an ad before the show. Oh, when they remember all these ads. Plugging into all the things. All right. You good to go?
Yep.
A likely story. Come on, ads. Man, ads are slow even to load for podcasts. Am I allowed to say that?
You can say that. I didn't say that. You can say that.
This is weird. I have a. They've got bad ad. They've got I got an ad for IBM, and they're giving me ad for some kind of vacuum filters. Let's see if we can go back in time and previously get that. All right, let's try this. All right, here we go.
Okay.
The iMore Show is brought to you today by SoftLayer. SoftLayer delivers a cloud built to compete. Your business applications and compute workloads are different from everyone else's, so you deserve cloud resources that meet your unique needs. SoftLayer is an IBM company, and it's the cloud infrastructure foundation of all IBM cloud products and services. All of our listeners, you have the opportunity to get $500 of cloud infrastructure by visiting softlayer.com/podcast. That's softlayer.com/podcast. It's just IBM, Big Blue, Big Cloud, and you. Thanks, SoftLayer. It is September 4, 2015. I'm Rene Ritchie, and right now we're going to talk all about Apple's Siri Give Us a Hint event scheduled for next Wednesday. This is the iMore Show. Joining me this week, I have Georgia Dow. Georgia, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
We also have Serenity Caldwell. She is still incoming. She went on an epic hero's journey this morning to rescue a droid named BB-8.
I fully understand. That was a good when you told me she's gonna be a little late. She has to get her BB-8. I went, I fully understand that. That's a good idea. I can't wait to see it.
Well, so we ordered last night, and she I think she ordered two, but then she wanted one. But the first place she went to, it sounds like the employees had bought them all already.
They're so cute.
Yeah, so she had to go to another place that was further away, and she's still driving back. So hopefully she'll be with us and with her droid.
I'm gonna have a little track behind me, and it's just gonna go from side to side while I do the podcast. Stare out in front of my shoulder. That's it, and then continue going back and forth.
Turn around, and then shoot something.
Exciting. I've always wanted to have a robot friend.
Well, I thought that's why you got married.
These ones never complain.
Okay. Yeah, you want one that actually listens to you.
Yes.
All right, so we're only a few days away, actually, as we record this. Yeah. It is Friday. The Apple event is on Wednesday at the Bill Graham Auditorium. We talked about that last week with Jason Snell about how large it is, and it sounds like the event is going to be expansive. Now, traditionally, this was Apple's music event, and they would show off the new iPods because that's what their biggest business was. But then in 2011, Apple switched. They moved the iPhone from June in WWDC to the fall because the iPhone was the biggest product. So they wanted it in the biggest quarter. And then for a while, Georgia, we had iPhone plus iPod when iPod was still a thing, but iPod has dropped off so precipitously that last year we had iPhone and the Apple Watch unveiling. And that was a huge event. That filled the Flint Center. They built a huge tent-like structure outside to let people go hands-on with all the watches and the iPhones. And this sounds like it's going to be every bit as big.
So why do they need it to be so large, though, Renee? I'm not going to be getting a car. I'm not going to be, which I would love. That would be fine. If they suddenly, one more thing was that I get a car, an Apple car, I'm fine with that. But I'm not getting a car. So why do they need such a large space?
You know what I want now? I want a black Trans Am to come in with a Siri light in the middle going woo, 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 woo.
Oh, I would be
you're
so
saying,
excited.
Hello, Michael, but with Siri's voice.
Yes.
We are the Apple Industries 2000 app, if you prefer.
I would buy that in a heartbeat.
That would be so odd. Turbo boost.
I'd get my BB-8 to sit in front and pretend that it's driving just to scare everyone.
Siri, turbo boost. I am not a 1980s TV show. I can't turbo boost.
I'm sorry, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that would be so fantastic, but that's probably still a few years off. So what we do have, though, is what looks like it's going to be an iPhone plus Apple TV event and maybe some iPads thrown in. And that raises all other questions. Like if they do, so let's talk about that first. If they do, let's say they do everything in September. Let's say there is no October event. Then we'd have the new iPhones, we'd have the new Apple TV, and we'd have the iPad Pro. Are the new Macs exciting enough that they would throw them in? I don't think so. I mean, like last year we had a separate event in October for the Retina 5K iMac and the new iPads, the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 3. This year there's no new no big new feature. There's a 4K iMac, but is 4K big after 5K? Literally no. It's a smaller number. It is lesser than. It is one less. But you still have OS 10 El Capitan, and they usually show that off in October, and Craig Federighi gets up on stage and he says, available now. And he presses the button. Like you can see him pressing an invisible button to release it to the masses right after the show. And if there's no October event, like they're not going to move up El Capitan from an October release, I don't think. So it's more nebulous to me, Georgia, what could be going on.
But do they really need to have, I think that, you have all of these events, and do you really need to have an October event if you release everything here? Do you need an event for El Capitan? Do we
need? I don't. An interesting choice of words.
It's a huge expense to be able to do it. I think that it would be a better idea if Apple just does less events, does a better job, and they don't have to go through everything. El Capitan is coming out, but I don't know. I don't know if it needs an event to itself to be able to be unleashed. Do you?
Well, because I don't want everything at once. Okay, just speaking purely selfishly, this stuff is hard. Okay, okay, so it's like a supermodel complaining about working on a beach set. Oh, there's sand in my toes.
You poor thing. Yes.
But no, but like I don't want to tell you how many words I'm into my iOS 9 review and my watchOS and all this stuff. We have so much stuff coming, and we are working so hard on it. Words. Yeah, like I'm barely getting any sleep as it is. And yes, woe is me, tech blogger, whatever.
Poor you, Renee. You have a rough life reviewing all these fabulous problems and then getting to do a show to be able to talk about this. Yeah, no, but I mean, it's just I want to do a great job with all this stuff, and I feel like when it's spread out more, like traditionally, I could focus on the iPhone and last year the Apple Watch, previously the iPads in September, and then I could focus on the Mac stuff and the iPad stuff in October, and it gave me a lot of work. It gave me a sane amount, but if everything lands at once, and the rumor is if the iPad Pro does come in September, it still won't be released until October or November. So that's some buffer. But just having to cover all that stuff at once, it feels like someone's taking Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and just cracking you in the middle of the skull with it. Right. Well, I would just say you don't have to cover everything immediately. People don't mind if it kind of trickles down. I guess.
Oh, they do.
Running a site, no matter what you miss, someone will be, well, why haven't you written about
it? It's a presidential elections. We don't have to cover all the candidates on election night. We can cover I don't know, Rhode Island on Thursday. Yeah, maybe Alaska on Wednesday.
Okay, so I'll change my answer then, just for you, Renee. I hope it's a trickle-out event, and we get one thing unleashed each month, which is its own separate event.
Oh, you have to sit there. It'll be like the Sony PlayStation 4 event, where every 20 minutes someone comes up to say something and then goes away again, and you're there for 14 or 15 weeks.
Technical difficulty.
No, I'm not asking for like an immense amount. I'm not asking for them to to strewn everything across a mountainside. I just having it separated into a logical structure where there's like iPhone and Apple TV and then iPad and Mac or whatever. It seems a little bit more civilized.
I don't know if Apple's going for civilized this year, though.
Shock and awe, or no, sorry, I apologize. Surprise and delight.
Right. And it just gets everyone prepared for the holiday season. So they have a little bit more time to get everyone prepped. If they release everything in September, it kind of makes sense for their quarterly, annual kind of their quarterly endings of, everyone's ready for budgeting of what am I going to be able to spend money on versus what am I not going to be able to spend money on. So
I could just get an army of BB-8s to cover it all.
That would be adorable. You know that they're going to be in all of our pick. I'm going to be constantly, every single selfie I take is going to be with my BB-8.
Well, there's I won't say it. It was just there was a horrible slide about how long it took women to make selfies on a competing platform's phone event yesterday, and I won't bring it up. But
It takes us a long time because we're women
like 14 minutes or something.
to take one selfie.
Yeah. And you take like 3 a day. Anyways, I'm not going to get into it.
Something wrong with my selfie.
That is Bill Nickinson's problem to solve, not mine. So let's keep going with it. So starting at the top, we expect the new iPhones. iPhone 6S, iPhone 6S Plus, a little thicker, a little wider, a little taller because they're making the case stronger, apparently. Just to even though Bendgate, I still believe, is mostly media hype and video twistery. They do want to make it even more resilient so that it reduces the chance of accidents happening. But aside from that, it is an S year, so it will be largely the same. Better camera, it probably Force Touch on the display, so you can do things like press harder to get options and shortcuts. But rose gold, right, Georgia?
It's so sad. I'm so superficial. That is the most exciting part of the fact. And Apple knows this. They found out that people, after the gold, iPhone, they saw that yes, people really do care a lot about the little things, about having something that is different than everyone else, the status symbol. I love, that's the only reason why I never buy an S series. I always wait 2 years until the phone really looks different.
You're a tick, not a talk.
And yeah, but that I'm like, oh, but it would be so pretty. But I use a case, so I don't even think that it would be worthwhile for me to do it for rose gold because I use a black case over my phone, and so you truly would never notice that there's
you could use a rose gold case.
But I would know. Right, I could use
scratch the surface, Georgia. What do you find?
More surface.
Yeah.
So though it's going to be thicker, Renee, we're still going to have the little tiny sticking out of the camera because the camera is going to be better, so they're not going to be able to make it flush.
Well, so here's the thing. People are wonderful. So Apple made the MacBook, and the MacBook, the lid on the new MacBook is incredibly thin. It's so thin they can't make a glowing Apple logo on it. And it's so thin they couldn't fit a normal-sized web camera in it, so they went with they went with older technology. Not older technology. They went with a technology that could, using modern miniaturization, could fit in that space, and it was a 480p, 480p, something like that. 480 was a terribly old camera technology. I keep missaying what it really, so it's really low resolution is what I want to say. Modern technology, low resolution, because it fit in with no lump. On the iPhone, people would lose their minds. If you gave people a tiny little camera on the iPhone, they'd be like, this is the worst camera ever. Cameras are really important. So if they don't do it, people complain the camera's no good. If they do it, they complain it's a hump. And this is laws of physics stuff. Like you have one or the other.
I agree. I think that that's the better of the two. It bothers me, and I'm sure that next year it's going to be flush. But I hope that it's going to be flush.
Cameras want depth, Georgia.
But I fully understand that. This is the camera that most people use, even though we have some beautiful, expensive cameras. This is the what I use for most of the photos that I take, and it makes a huge difference to take nice photos. When I have my friends with their phones and they're taking photos, I'm like, let me take a photo, please, instead, because mine's going to have better resolution on it than theirs will.
I mean, and some people say just make it thicker so that it is flush and just put more battery into it. But I think that's one of those things too where people don't understand the technology involved. And no one has to be a battery scientist, obviously, but batteries are big and heavy, but they're also insulators. So it means that the processor, if it gets hotter, it's harder to cool that processor down, which means you have to ramp it down more fully. They're not RF transparent, which interferes with radio signals. It is a careful balancing act to get all this stuff to work and to work well. And the other thing is Apple currently believes that lightness is usability. That when you make a phone bigger, and I have really big, really heavy phones here. I have like a Nokia that if I dropped it, I would make a dent in my floor. They're not as easy to use, and we know this because the original iPad was heavy, and when they went to the iPad 2, it was so light. Everyone talked about how much easier it was to use. And a big phone is like that. If you're reading in bed and it's heavy, you just can't keep reading that long.
If you're walking, knock yourself out when you fall asleep.
You could, it would drop by. But if you're walking and trying to use it one-handed, and it's heavy, it's hard. It makes it hard to use. And the idea of a battery is nice, but there's a lot of other things we can do for batteries now. And Apple really wants to make, what John Siracusa or Mark Orman, I forget which one calls it, that naked computing core. And then you can add a battery case if you want. You can add a rugged case. You can add a waterproof case. But if they built that in, you can't take it off when you don't need it. You're stuck with it.
Yeah, and I think that people, like the psychology of it all is that we are already used to, charging our phone every night. It's an easy thing to do. I'm asleep. My phone is, of course, next to me. My charger is right there. And we're used to that. So I think that the trade-off wouldn't give us a huge benefit. It's nice to think like my phone will last for like a day and a half, depending on my usage of it that day. And that's wonderful. The same thing for the watch. But I charge it every night anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And what I find is that if I have to charge it every third day or every fourth day, often, especially with smartwatches, is that if I get out of the habit, I'll forget, and then it dies off, and then it's sitting on my counter.
Like the iPad, right?
Right. Yeah. My river of
Well, no, but the iPad is inconveniently timed for human beings because you don't have to charge it every night, but then you don't remember to charge it. So like it feels like it never runs out until it runs out, and then it's horrible.
Yes. And that's what I have. I think I have 4 iPads. They're all not charged. None of them.
No,
because I'm just not used to the habit, and I haven't created a specific ritual that works for me of where is the charger, because I steal my iPad's chargers to use on my phone, because when we go through the hierarchy of technology importance, my phone takes precedence. Then, it's my Air that would be the next one that I try to search for a charger for. And then the iPads kind of get lost in the mix, because if I use the iPad or not, I'm like, nah. I would only use the iPad if I can't reach, if my phone or my Air is out of sight of reach, then I will use an iPad. But besides that.
There's a lot like that Apple's still doing with software to handle battery life, like iOS 9. It's a good bridge because we're going to be seeing they'll go over again what we're going to get in iOS 9. They'll show off any new and specific features for the new phone, like the pressure sensitivity stuff. But they're also going to put out the Golden Master, which is the final version for developers. And Apple's doing a lot of cool stuff. Like they're going to give everyone basically up to an extra hour of battery life just by doing things like detecting when the phone is face down and not lighting up the screen when notifications come in. And that little bit adds up. But they also have low power mode. So when you get to 20%, you can choose to cancel it. But if you don't cancel it, it'll just stop background refresh. It'll stop mail fetch if you're not in the mail app. It'll turn off animations, and that can give you up to 3 extra hours of battery life. And it's you get the light phone that you can put any battery case you want on if you want one. And you also get without it being heavier, you have the ability to use it, and you get software that's managing it as much as possible. And I know people will still say, they could just do this, they could just do that. Other companies have done it. There have been Droid Maxes and other versions, and nobody buys those phones because they're big and thick and heavy and hot and horrible. It's one of those things, Georgia, where we express a need without understanding the ramifications of that need, and then companies who do try to give it to us inevitably get punished for doing so.
We're a little bit demanding. We just want them to get it, and unfortunately, because Apple does such a good job of getting out things that work really effortlessly to us, we kind of just expect that to happen. We expect to snap our fingers, and it's just to magically occur. What is going to be coming with iOS 9? What are you most excited for?
Oh, you just reminded me. This is how horrible humans are. Last year, everyone was saying was Apple, just stop. Like don't put any new features in iOS 9. Just give me stability. I don't want to see anything else. Just fix all this stuff. I just don't do anything. And then this year, all I'm getting now is, this is not a very important upgrade. It's more like iOS 8.5. Where are all the new features? We're totally impossible to please. We're damnable creatures.
Yes, we're the consumable society, right? So we're used to having things happen and happening, faster and greater and effortlessly, and that becomes the new norm. So
sorry, your question was what's coming with iOS 9 that we're...
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that we saw at WWDC. There will again be some things that are new, but it's all the cool stuff like multitasking for the iPad, the new Siri intelligence stuff. It's going to be really cool, and watchOS 2.0 is going to come along with it because Apple Watch is still intrinsically bound to the iPhone. And while watchOS 2 will bring things like native apps that move the logic from the phone to the watch, so they're sort of out of like islands unto themselves finally. They're still going to be tied together. You're still going to download things on your iPhone. You're still going to piggyback off your iPhone. But it'll be cool. There's like if you're at work and you're on your work Wi-Fi network, your watch will start to remember that. So even if you don't have your phone with you anymore, it'll still be able to do basic internet things like check your messages, use Siri, stuff like that. If you remember a Starbucks network because you've been there often enough and you don't have your phone with you, you're jogging, you go into Starbucks, it'll be able to do that. So it's becoming not fully independent, but more independent. And when you stop to think that Watch only came out 5-6 months ago and it's already going to 2.0, that's a really fast pace. Like, yes, 2.0, it's more of a rounding out of what was already there, but it's still only 6 months later and we're getting that rounding out, which is cool.
So am I going to be able to just move the time forward and backwards and time is going to change? That is what I'm so excited for.
So I tried it. Like, you could try on the old solar watch face. You could do this already. You turn the digital crown, and actually things around you, people start moving backwards or forwards depending on which way you're going, and they go faster or slower depending on how fast you spin it. So if you make a mistake, like you trip over something or you drop something, you just rewind the digital crown. You actually see like the glass spin back up and land on the tray, and all the parts come back together. And no, it doesn't really.
Okay, I'm gonna rewind, and we're gonna go back to the beginning of the show.
So it's really cool if you have like the solar watch face on your. But there should be other stuff too. Like there should be new watch straps, like sports straps. We've already seen some of them shown off at different fashion shows. But I'm hoping for product red still. But there might be other color options. I don't know if you're looking forward for anything.
You know what? For watch straps, I'm not. I'm really happy with the watch straps that I have now. I think that, you try out all the different watch straps and then you kind of fit with whatever works with you. And now, unless it is one that is really kind of girly and exceptionally pretty, if there's Swarovski crystals, then I would probably buy it. If it's going to be, if we had a Milanese that was in the black, that would be also something great. So that would be one that I would purchase.
Well, the Milanese, I don't know if this is a well-kept or badly kept secret, but there are black Milanese. They're making something that is diamond-like coated is incredibly difficult, and something that is almost like cloth, getting it to actually stay on and not scratch and be like an Apple level product is really hard.
Right.
So I believe like they're in prototype stage. I don't think they've moved to product stage just because it is so difficult. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm going to deal with it. Renee, people often ask me questions about the Force Touch and what is it going to be? What is it going to do for them? Is it going to make a really large difference?
So one thing that's important to remember is that when you have the TikTok iPhones, the S version is never meant for the people who own the previous version. The S version is meant for the people who haven't upgraded yet. And Tim Cook said like only 27% of people had upgraded so far. So if you have last year's phone, you're not expected to get this year's phone. That's what crazy geeky tech people and people who sell on Gazelle all the time do. For normal people, you get all the stuff that you got on the iPhone 6 plus Force Touch and stuff like that. So Force Touch is like a nice to have. It'll give you faster ways of getting to certain options and pressure sensitivity and stuff. But I always get wary when someone thinks it's going to be like the only selling feature, like Touch ID. Serenity's here.
Yay!
Do you have it? I want to see it now. Talk, Serenity, so I can see it in big screen.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh,
She's
so cute.
Yeah, I didn't think that it was possible for it to be cuter in person. But totally.
Serenity is holding up a BB-8 from Sphero.
I am.
Oh, now you see, Groot is going to have to take a sidestep when I get my BB-8. They're going to be friends.
Look at this.
Aww.
Look at
little.
this.
Oh, goodness.
I have to turn. So he hasn't been turned on yet. I'm
Oh.
going to do this as we hang out on the podcast.
He is so worth it. I was saying at the beginning of the show when Renee's like, she has to get her BB-8 for something. Like, I completely understand. That is mandatory.
I drove 50 minutes from my house to get this after I went to the local Apple store, and they had a store meeting before the store opened, and their cheer was like BB-8, BB-8, and I was like, oh yay, you guys have it in stock. And I came in, I'm like, so I was the first person in. I'm like, you guys have BB-8s? And they're like, they look at each other and they're like, we don't have any stock. And I looked at them and I was like, specialists? And they're like, yeah, we kind of reserve them all for ourselves. And I'm like, you guys suck. But
I'm calling Angela Ahrens right now.
But you're like, you fully understand that if you were there, you would have done the exact same
thing. I would have,
them.
Despite the fact that it was against my store's policy when I worked there, I would have moved heaven and earth. I would have had my dad come in and reserve one or something crazy like that. I would have gotten a friend.
Oh, yes, have them wait in line.
I would have gotten a friend to blackmail.
Yes.
The packaging for this thing is also really cool. So you've got like the giant BB-8, but then when you take the top store stuff, it looks like it's a little storage locker. So it's your BB-8 comes in a little. Oh, that's so adorable.
Is it wrong that I want all of them? I just want to walk around with like a 1,000 of them.
4 BB-8s. Oh my gosh. I was squeeing in the car. Not to interrupt us talking about the iPhone 6s, which I will also probably be very excited about when it.
No, you can control BB-8 with an iPhone 6s. It's totally legitimate.
You can.
That's true. That's true. I'm gonna have. I was telling Renee that I'm gonna have a little track for it behind me, and so while we do the podcast, I can just
It'll
have
just
him.
patrol mode, right?
Yes, exactly, and then
Patrol
take a little
mode.
look over my shoulder.
There you go. I'm unboxing live on screen. I'm unboxing the USB cord. Very advanced. It comes with its own Star Wars manual.
US BB-8.
Yes. Oh.
It's a droid manual.
Here we go. That was terrible, Renee. I don't know if you're allowed to do
Bootini.
that. Bootini.
Bootini.
Okay, I'm plugging him in, but I think I need to download the app so we can continue. Ooh.
All right.
Oh, he started glowing. He has lights.
I'm way too excited about it.
Yeah.
He's adorable. I love his little charging station.
And it's magnetic. It's Apple Watch style. Oh, he's starting to move. Oh my God.
I love it.
I'm sorry to all of you who are suddenly like, why is she obsessed?
Why is she? Well, yeah,
Force Friday.
if you're listening to this by
This is
audio,
Force Friday. Look at.
if you're listening to this by audio, he's really tiny. He's about the size of like a softball.
Yeah, he's a softball
and
with a half dome.
got the little head that's moving around, and he has little LEDs inside of him, and he's lighting up and happy about. He's happy about being charged.
Oh my God! I just said hi, and he's looking at me.
He's what a Corellian would call totes adorbs.
To everybody who's listening on the podcast, the little like mechanical noises you can hear in my microphone, that's BB-8. I'm holding him up to the microphone right now.
He's participating.
He's telling us which iPhone 6s he wants.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
right. And you were talking, Renee, about the Force Touch and how, this will be a way, like I would just love if the Force Touch was a way that you could, like when you're in an app, just reach the settings or deal with that. It's something that would be, if it's speed of use, that would be
let's cut down
wonderful.
to it. You don't usually buy the S models, Georgia. Will the iPhone 6s change your mind? Are you going to get one?
Is it going to come in rose gold?
Yeah, Mika Sargent
if
just
it
asked
comes
us this
in
with Ask
rose
iMore.
gold, that is a pull
Is that the
for me.
clincher?
Which one would you
I'm
get?
still.
Tell us which iPhone 6s you would get, like size and
I would get the iPhone 6s rose gold and
Plus, or would you go back
I
to the
would
small
stick
one?
with the Plus. I do. I don't think that I don't think that it would be easy for me. Once you're used to a certain size, your body adjusts to that, and then going smaller. I've used someone's 5 the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even understand how
I get claustrophobic.
how I handled that, though. I thought to myself, my goodness, look, my thumb can reach all the way across the screen with one hand. So I did think that is fabulous, but I don't think that I could go down. And so, that would be what I would pick up.
16, 64, 128?
I would probably get the 64. So far, I now actually put things up to the cloud, so I don't have to worry about storage as much as I did before, because I take copious amounts of videos and photos.
What about you, Ren?
I was on mute. I am probably going to get 6. All right, so I'm debating. I might go to the Plus. With watchOS, with watchOS 2, I might go to the Plus because I'm
Join us.
I'm pulling
I think
my
you should.
phone out a lot less.
Strike down the 6s and take your place with the Plus.
My concern is that I do a lot of reading in iBooks. I really like reading before bed, and for some reason the screen is good for me. And I'm worried that the 6S Plus will be too big for me to hold. Now, Rick, my boyfriend has a 6 Plus, so I could, in theory, test this before I decide. But I'm still a little bit. I'm a little conflicted. It's so
that is one thing. That is one thing. I think that's a good point. It is a little bit more difficult to use in bed because of it is bigger, and so you really will knock yourself out if it falls onto you. But I lean it sideways onto the pillow and I read sideways, so I don't read on my back with the Plus. I think that there should be a danger warning label on it. Do not read with this before bed because it might knock you out. But I read sideways on the pillow.
Fall on your face.
What about color and capacity, Ren?
Rose gold, without question. I love my gold iPhone, and rose gold will be the next step. BB-8 seems to be really excited about rose gold.
It's the only acceptable color this year.
Yeah. Rose gold and 64. 16 is too tiny, and 128 is just I don't need that much storage, but 64 I feel like is the right middle ground.
So there's some backlash about Apple maintaining a 16 gigabyte model, and if people aren't familiar with how this works, there's different kinds of NAND flash storage. There's MLS, which is typically more expensive in terms of component pricing, that's used on smaller capacity devices. And then there's TLS, which is cheaper and typically used on larger capacity devices. The problem is there's nothing really in the middle ground. So what you can do is either double up on MLS RAM, which you could do in things like the iPod Touch traditionally, because there was no radio in it for cellular, so it had more space. It was just easy to put in. Or you can double up on the density, which starts to become really expensive. With TLS, you're basically just out of luck at the lower end. They just don't make it in smaller sizes, at least as of last year. I don't know if that has changed. So for Apple, if they want to have a 32 gigabyte, it's more difficult for them because either they have to double density up on the MLS and it becomes more expensive and it hurts their average selling price. Well, the average selling price, it hurts their margins on the phone. Or they have to, try to figure something else out, and many people do. It's not a huge problem, but it does cut into the price of the device. So they also don't want to make the device starting, like you could say, just get rid of the 16 gigabyte version and start at 64, or start with a more expensive 32. But then they don't have something lower priced, and they want something that starts at that $199 level on contract and $649 level off contract. So Apple's the biggest company in the world, the richest company in the world. They could give away free iPhones all day if they wanted to, but their business is established based on margins, and when those things change, Wall Street panics, and we've seen what happens when Wall Street panics. So it is a weird sort of a thing, but it is why these capacities are the way they are, and Apple is sort of trying to handle them by doing things like app thinning, which it means if you have a certain iPhone, it won't download all the files for the iPad, all the files for other iPhones, non-Retina graphics or 3X graphics for a 6 Plus if you don't need them. It'll also not download levels for a game until you get to them. And it'll also do things like Georgia said, like offloading stuff, like leaving Apple Music online, leaving iCloud Photo Library online, so you don't have to carry everything on your device, and that will hopefully make 16 gigabytes more livable. That said, I still wouldn't recommend it to anybody today. I would go for 64, and it's not a complete consolation, but Apple dropped the price of 64 by $100 and 128 by $100 last year, and they're going to be keeping with that. So it's cheaper to get the more storage. It sucks to get the lower storage, but it's cheaper than ever to get the more storage. I don't know if I'll go 128 this year. I'm definitely getting Rose Gold, definitely getting the 6 Plus. I just don't know if I need 128 anymore. I thought I did, and I haven't gotten anywhere near since they introduced all the iCloud stuff.
Where do you think you are with storage, Renee, with your phone now?
I can tell you, I think I'm at like 48 out of 128.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty similar. I think I have 7 or 8 gigs free. The only reason I see to have a 128 gig phone at this point with iCloud and everything else is if you plan to keep your entire photo library on your iPhone, or if you plan to keep your entire music library, on your iPhone.
I have 61 gigabytes free.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. The 16 gig, I hate the 16 gigabyte phone. I think it's dumb. I think it's bad marketing. But I understand why the price point has to exist, because Apple wants to maintain that. Flash is not cheap enough yet for the 32 to become that standard $199 model. But I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Maybe children. If we're talking about,
if your children are getting new iPhones, for what purpose is that they would need it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if I might do it if it was
go with their Apple Watch, Georgia.
No, but if I was giving it to my mom, who I know is not going to download anything without my help and not going to take a lot of photos, but would like to have a large phone that she can read easier and that is in the same ecosystem with her iPad, that might be a use case where I would say it's not going to really matter. Someone that really is going to use it mostly.
Traditionally, it's traditionally the 8 gigabyte models, and before that the 4 gigabyte models were meant for emerging markets where people didn't have data plans the way we have them, that you were billed basically per bit, and you would have like a Facebook plan or a BBM plan, and people just used them as messaging because voice was too expensive. The problem is that picture messaging became popular, and all of a sudden those pictures started taking up all the space that the text never did. But psychologically it's weird to me, Georgia, because Apple, every company wants to do segmented marketing. They want to have like the cheap version that gets you in the door, the medium version that most people buy, and the premium version that people who have to have the premium version get. So the small, middle, large, good, better, best version. You'd find that for fridges, for microwaves, for cars, for everything. But you have to find something that people are willing to differentiate upon. Sometimes it's screen size, like whether you get 8, 10, or 12. People will see a bigger screen equals more expensive. I'm comfortable paying for that. In some cases, it's a faster processor, like on the Macs. It's a 1.2 or a 1.4 or a 1.6. Faster equals more money. I understand that. With phones, the way Apple has been making them, the only thing they've settled on is capacity. Someone says, well, this is 32, this is 64, this is 128. I understand more is more expensive, so they're willing to do it. Really, the prices aren't that different. And Apple sort of works it so that if you buy the middle, some people buy the cheap one, some people buy the more expensive one, but the average ends up all being around, the average sale price is what's important, ends up being around the same. But some people look at it and they look at the price and they say there's no way that that twice the memory is worth $100 more.
Well, I think that people aren't used to buying memory probably, and they want whatever's going to be cheapest. I think that for Apple, keeping the 16 is just marketing. It makes them have a really nice low price, which makes that barrier to entry so much easier, because once someone has settled in on whatever price the lowest model is, people are like, oh, that's not too bad. And so that gets them the foot in the door in marketing, and then afterwards it makes it so much easier for people to say at the Apple Store, other friends, to say, you know what, probably 16 is too small and it's only going to be $100 more. And so once people have settled on one price, it's easier to upgrade them. If they just kept it to 32 and that makes a larger barrier to entry, you're losing a whole set of the population that has not already agreed to a price. And so,
or it's big enough people won't go to 64 and then their average sales price drops.
Yes, and so it's a great marketing technique to help people out to be able to get into that. And then afterwards, people are much more willing to upgrade after they've already agreed on one price for something that's better, but a great deal.
Yeah, it's standard resale psychology. It sucks for customers, but if it wasn't that, it'd be something else. Like it really is. You can pick anything. You could make colors, and they've done that. Like the black MacBook used to be $100 more expensive. Why? Because people were willing to pay it. That's exactly all this stuff is completely abstract and arbitrary.
Right, and it's all in our power. This is not. They're not using anything that we have not given them the right to use. I would completely pay more for a one that is a different color because it looks nicer. And for me, my phone is an accessory as well. It's a fashion accessory. It's not just a technology that I use, which makes me feel bad to say that, but it's absolutely true.
No, I believe that completely.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to take a quick break, and I am going to tell you about, who am I telling you about? Linda. No, I'm not telling you about Linda. Linda was last week. I am telling you, I have gotten so mixed up this week. Georgia says it's...
Are you busy? Like writing things? Is there some big event happening?
That couldn't be possibly it.
We have, actually, it's a brand new sponsor, and it's something that I'm super excited about, but something that I don't know very much about. I hope they're not listening to this. They are listening to this, but I hope they're really not. So it's about fantasy football. It's about FanDuel. It's about the NFL. Now, anyone watching the show knows that I am Canadian, and they have not been graced by NFL teams, although I do see a lot of the border teams, the New England Patriots, the Buffalo Bills, teams like that. They are in the general vicinity. I'm aware of them. But I have not really been able to participate in them. And that's the nice thing about fantasy football, is it lets everybody participate. So fantasy football, FanDuel Week 1 games are almost here. The NFL is going to kick off. Literally, they're going to take a ball, they're going to kick it, a game is going to start, and FanDuel is going to start with it. So FanDuel is the leader in 1 week fantasy football. The nice thing about 1 week is that you can just come and go. It's not this huge commitment. So if you have a lot of time, you want some fun this weekend, you go into FanDuel. If next weekend all the relatives are over and you have to have some big dinner and you have no spare time, then you don't have to do it next week. So there's no long-term commitment. You can come and go as you please. They are paying out over $75 million a week. I had to check that number 3 times because it was so big. $75 million this football season. It uses a salary cap format. You can pick any players you want, and you get them for just 1 week. So if somebody's injured, if God forbid someone tears an ACL or something, they're not on your team for the rest of the month. You can have a whole new team a week later. Entry fees start at just $1. Anybody can play. I got to hear them talk about it a little bit earlier today, and these are a bunch of people who are super passionate about football. They really want to make this stuff fun. So if you love the idea of football, if you love the idea of fan football, all you have to do is go to FanDuel.com, click on the microphone. This is the important part. Click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner and use promo code iMore. That way you can sign up and save, because they've got a special offer. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it with up to $200 that gets earned as you play. So basically, if you put in $1, they'll give you another $1. Not immediately, because they don't want people just going there and rummaging for free cash, obviously, but they will give you $1 over the course of your playment history. $100, they'll give you $100, up to $200 as you play the game. The offer is only good for the first 50 people. So if you want to take advantage of it, take advantage of it right away. Don't wait. And don't forget to use promo code iMore. FanDuel.com, where every day is a new season. That's FanDuel.com. Sign up today. Georgia, I'm devastated to learn that you have to leave. It's like we can't have you and Serenity at the same time.
I know.
We had a brief overlap.
I'm going over to Serenity's to steal her BB-8 right now. So
he's on patrol mode. You'll never get it.
Yeah, she's gonna go find her own little droid, and then we're gonna have a droid face-off.
Oh, so cute.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Georgia. If people want to find you on the internet, where can they go?
They can go to at Georgia_Dow, and if you or anyone you know has anxiety, we are also launching a site, anxiety-videos.com, for treating anxiety at home.
I need all of them to get past this week.
Me too.
All right. Thank you so much, Georgia. See you next time.
Bye.
Serenity, we barely got started before you got here. There's so much.
There is so much. There is so much. There is so much that I had to take vacation this past week so that I could get re-energized for the insanity that is coming in the next month.
I don't want to tell you how many words I am into the iOS 9 review, but I'm not done.
Yeah. I have been, despite technically being on vacation, I have written a bunch of how-tos for iOS 9, which we will see when iOS 9 drops. So readers look forward to that.
It is a big deal. Like, people were saying that iOS, like, and we talked about this before you got on, how previously last year people were saying, don't do anything, just fix stuff. And now people are like, oh, Apple's not doing anything. What is this, 8.5? But writing the review, there's tons and tons of new stuff.
There's so much.
So by contrast, though, the watchOS 2 thing, which we should also see, is so interesting to me because it's only 5 or 6 months after the first watchOS came out. And this really is more of a rounding out, more of a filling in of features, more of a emancipation for the device. And I didn't realize this, but we were talking about this too, is it starts to remember Wi-Fi networks. So if you've gone to Starbucks and it has connected to Starbucks, and then you go back maybe even without your iPhone, it'll still connect and do basic features. It really is. It's like it's first day of school.
Yeah, it really, really excites me. All of the stuff that they've made to improve the watch. It's not a whole, it's not a big marquee features in that we would think like, oh, it does holograms now or anything crazy like that. But independent app bundles is going to be huge. It's going to speed up app loading times. It allows apps to do so much more on the watch. Better Siri integration, HomeKit integration, just faster all around. watchOS 2, of course, the beta still has its bugs here and there, but I've found in my beta testing overall, I've been very, very impressed with it, and I'm really excited to see it launch in GM.
So one of the bigger mysteries is not the wrong word, because there's so much. I mean, like you can be, it's like going to read a script for a movie before the movie debuts. Now you can find any spoiler you want to find now. But the Apple TV is interesting to me because Apple has positioned things where they have backboard and frontboard running on all their mobile devices, essentially, like the iPhone, like the Apple Watch, like the Apple TV, and then they have these different interface layers. Like they have Springboard on the iPhone, they have Carousel on the and NanoTime on the watch, and Apple TV has had this front row like interface for a long time, and now it's getting a new one. And there's been things like universal search is apparently coming. Now, Apple's been trying to do universal search for years, and they've not been allowed to because the media companies were like, you're not going to commoditize us. We're special, unique snowflakes. There's no way you're going to search for a movie, and our competitors will get that search information. But they've been okay with other companies, but Apple's not other companies. But we're going to get that finally now, universal search, a whole new. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say universal search is the biggest feature that I'm looking forward to with the Apple TV. App Store, forget about it. Like, App Store is going to be cool. I like the idea of playing more games on my television, but overall, universal search, I am thrilled about.
So I was talking about this with Guy and Georgia on Vector earlier this week, because I've seen, like, for example, I'll be watching a movie with Georgia and she'll be playing Candy Crush on the second screen. If she was just playing Candy Crush, I would lose my movie. Yeah. So I had all the previous generation consoles. I have not bought a current generation console.
Nor have I.
So I don't know. Am I going to want a game? I'm sure for parties it'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think for parties it will be neat. And it depends on the games, right? Where more and more, like, there are certain iPhone games that I would love to play on the big screen, and I haven't because the AirPlay lag is a little bit too
Yeah.
bad, or I don't want to set up the television. But if it's a lot faster, I think I would be a lot more excited to do it.
And because it all does run iOS, it will theoretically be easier for developers to get games up and running, and it'll be similar hardware. It'll have metal, so it'll play really well. But I'm personally looking more forward to the entertainment apps. Like there are some of them. I don't have as many as you do. Like we don't have HBO yet. We don't have
Yeah.
a bunch of them. But the ability for the Canadian networks don't have apps on the Apple TV. I have to AirPlay them like an animal from my iPad, and it never works well. But it doesn't work well because they use separate
They're
ad
jerky,
servers.
yeah.
And it loses, like it just stops playing as it tries to shift from the ad to the content servers. It's a horrible experience, and some of them refuse to enable AirPlay, so you have to do mirroring, and it's sucks.
terrible. It's terrible.
So I want all that. I want all that great content. I want that Apple TV to be my, like, if maybe not the input 0, but input 1 at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, smart TVs frustrate me because everybody has a different software, and it's, televisions and DVRs were the one piece of technology that always just made my head want to explode. Give me a computer with a malfunctioning problem, no problem. Ask me to turn to like input 3 with this remote where I swear half of the buttons are in Cyrillic. That's a little bit more difficult. So I'm looking forward to an Apple TV. I'm looking forward to seeing what Apple does with voice control.
Yeah.
In specific, there's a lot of opportunity here. There's also a lot of ways that you could desperately and devastatingly screw up voice control. So I'm hoping that Apple has figured out a way to do voice control that's not terrifying. That's not going to make me cry.
Yeah, so the interesting is because people talk about the Amazon Echo a lot, and there's a lot of problems you have to overcome. And I mentioned this on Vector too, but I will go over it again because it's interesting. Like Nuance has this demo that they'll show you where it tries to figure out who it should listen to. If you're in a room with a bunch of people and everyone starts yelling out a different command, how does the device know what to do? Conversely, you have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, and an Apple TV, and you tell Siri to do something. How does Siri know which one to listen to? And Nuance does this thing where you snap twice, cameras and microphones beamform and lock on you, and blocks out all other sounds, so it'll only listen to you. But that's not what the Apple TV is going to do. So like if you and Rick are both telling it to do different things, and you're both wearing watches, you both have phones next to you, there's an iPad.
It's a lot of things.
But that's the problem they have to solve.
Mm-hmm. I'm really hoping that they have figured this out, and they figure maybe it's a custom trigger. Maybe it's not a Hoy telephone. Maybe it's something very specific where it's, hey, Apple TV.
Well, I'm hoping it's a button because like the
or a
privacy,
button, yeah.
Because then you'd also like there is something still
You'd
creepy
avoid the
about these
privacy.
microphones.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the traditional fight over the microphone, over the remote control.
Oh,
which will be brilliant. But yeah, those sorts of things. I'm never as interested in what Apple's going to do as the problems that they're going to solve, and I think that's always the revealing part because some of these problems are really, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, well, we look at television, right? Look at how much remotes have evolved since the 1960s. We went from a dial to buttons,
Yes.
and we've stuck with buttons. Occasionally, our buttons have a touch screen next to them, and you have some remotes have a really terrible touch screen that you can, but they're buttons. Ultimately, buttons and complex menus within menus within menus. How great would it be to be like, go to the color settings menu, change my television so that it, displays in movie mode instead of sports mode, so everything doesn't look super fast. Like, instead of having to navigate cumbersomely through all of these menu options, being able to instantly control, or to, I want to see the latest episode of Suits. Done.
Oh, I'm living that dream. That's what I want so much next week.
Yep. I'm crossing my fingers. There's so much, Renee. The rumors say there's going to be some blockbuster event happening, which is
I talked about it before you got here that it feels like they're going to hit us in the head with Mjolnir.
Yeah, it really does. It feels a little insane, which is why I went and got a Star Wars toy today. because I needed to distract myself from all of the insane tech that we're going to see. So I'm like, you know what's a good prelude to seeing a new iPhone and a new Apple TV and probably a new iPad as well? I'm going to get a robot that I didn't think was possible until this year.
It is so good. I could do a whole show just on BB-8.
I know. The future is here. The future
still-
is here, and it can fit in the palm of your hand.
Beep, 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 beep. So I still want to talk to you about these iPad Pro rumors, but I'm going to take one more break and tell you about our friends at Smile Software. Smile loves podcasts, and everyone loves the deal. So Smile is offering 20% off new licenses purchased directly from Smile through October 15th. Save 20% on PDF Pen, the all-purpose Mac PDF editor. Add signatures, text, and images. I use that to fill in all the forms for my Nexus, which is like global entry government forms that I didn't think were even possible. It handled it absolutely fine, no problem. It'll OCR scan documents, it'll export in Microsoft Word format, and more. You can take 20% off PDF Pen Pro and start making interactive forms, building tables of contents, and converting web pages to PDF. Get 20% off Text Expander, which I'm going to be using along with Serenity to live blog the Apple event next week, because typing in Tim Cook said over and over again, waste of my fingers. TCS, boom, done. Which saves your fingers and your keyboard, expanding custom shortcuts into frequently used text and pictures. So here's what I want you to do. Go to smilesoftware.com/iMore and use coupon code iMore at checkout. That's 20% off new licenses, PDF Pen, PDF Pen Pro, and Text Expander. Does not apply to ebooks or upgrades. Not available via the Mac App Store. It's only available on direct purchases from Smile's web store. It starts now and is active through October 15th. So if you want these products, and I'm telling you, you want these products, they are all of them best in class. They are all of them phenomenal. They will all of them save you something that is far more valuable than money, and that is time. Go to smilesoftware.com/iMore, coupon code iMore. Should we do that on our iPad Pro, Serenity?
Yes. Let's do it on our iPad Pro, our brand new iPad Pro with stylus.
Yeah. So
speaking of styli.
Yeah, it's
With
interesting.
Stylus.
Oh, say that again. We missed it.
Stylus.
Oh, here we go.
This is the Jot Dash, by the way. Anybody who's watching, Dawn, it just came out with a very nice little Pixel Point Tech pen that has I believe a 1.2 millimeter tip that works on all iPads. And I'm like, this is really awesome, guys. You do know that Apple's releasing a pressure sensitive, probably stylus. But I mean, this is good. It's a non-pressure sensitive stylus, but you know.
So Apple could theoretically, Ren, after they've shown us the new iPhones, after they've shown us the new Apple TV, or whatever order they feel like, of course, they could bring an iPad Pro up on stage. Now, it may not ship until October or November, but they might
preview it. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
What would you want to see in an iPad Pro? We had months to think about it. Your editorial you wrote a while ago was super cool, but we've had so many more rumors since then.
So many more. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit on podcasts prior, and my main thing for an iPad Pro is I want something with, we've got a Retina resolution, which is great. I want the screen to be interactive enough, whether that's force touch, whether that's pressure sensitivity, that we can do creative work on it, specifically drawing, storyboarding, basic artistry, movie making, editing photos, editing video. I really love the touch controls on my iPad. And my pie in the sky dream has always been that an iPad Pro would actually dock to your Mac, where it would be basically like a second screen that had touch sensitive controls on it. So I could be working in Photoshop on my iMac, and I could use my iPad Pro to, design.
Like a Cintiq.
Exactly. And there's a great third-party app called AstroPad that does just that. So I'm really excited to see what AstroPad will do when it gets its hands on if the mythical iPad Pro does in fact become reality. I would love to see that kind of interaction, because I think the market for really good touch controls that doesn't involve me reaching up to a screen and pulling my arms out like a monkey. If I can use touch controls on my desk while being able to control something on my Mac, I think that could be huge and really cool, and a really neat way to integrate kind of iOS and OS X together without necessarily merging the two.
Yeah, there's some. I've been using the iOS 9. So the iPad Pro is supposed to ship with iOS 9.1 later in the year, but I've been using iOS 9 on my iPad Air 2, and it's just the multi-app stuff is phenomenal. Like the slide over, the split view, but there's other stuff too, like the picture-in-picture video. At one point, I had to do some tech support for my parents, and I was in FaceTime, and before it would just be full screen FaceTime, but the minute I left FaceTime, it goes into picture-in-picture mode, and I could go through settings and I could talk them through it as I was doing it. I'd love to be able, like on an iPad Pro, if I'm in a meeting, like if you and I are talking about designs for the next version of iMore, we could have FaceTime running while we're talking about it, have the screen. We could even shift, maybe one day Apple will let us share screens over FaceTime.
Yeah.
And then you have that running while you're working, drawing on it. The other person can see it. You can, we haven't got FaceTime conference calling it. The potential for this stuff is amazing.
Yeah, collaborative FaceTime. It'd be so great.
Yeah, well, Ken Ferry's app, the mentoring one, and I'm blanking on the name now. Yeah, but that was, you had FaceTime running while you were doing whiteboarding with people, and that was a phenomenal learning experience. The potential for this as a creative device, Ren, is really exciting.
Yeah, I think that if Apple does this right, it could be something really, really special.
So as you said at the beginning, it's going to be a stupefying, the potential is there for a stupefying amount of stuff. And Apple has, a couple of years ago, I heard Apple was thinking about doing the same thing, basically doing the equivalent of a Michael Bay movie where the Admiral looks up and says, "Clear my skies," and then just everything launches. And you know, they didn't do it. They split the events up, but this year they might be thinking it's the time to do it, just to go all in, to drop the surprise and delight bomb for the rest of the year. We're going to be there live. The event is on Wednesday, starts 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to try our best to survive, but it's going to be a fun way to go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I imagine that the iMore crew, as well as pretty much every other tech media personality who's going to be in attendance or around the theater, is pretty much going to be heads down and writing in products for the next week. So we really apologize if you're trying to get in touch with us next week. Chances are we're going to be telling you some really awesome things about what Apple's getting ready to announce, but we probably won't be in very good communication.
No, or conscious, or
no, lots of I require. It's like next week in San Francisco, I think, is whiskey gingers for us all around. Yes. Whiskey gingers infused with caffeine. We just become writing superstars.
I want a central line with that in it.
Yeah. That's how you can finish proofreading your iOS 9 review.
And it's so interesting because Apple's now not just like, usually there were just tech press there, but last year at the event and also in March, there were fashion press there and you know, horology press. I don't know what it's called, horological press. We're there for the watch event. This year we could have more watch stuff, which means we'll have the fashion and watch people, the television stuff. So we'll have the media press as well. It sounds like a big venue, but there's such wide appeal in this technology now.
Yeah. No, there is. I mean, that's the beauty of what Apple is trying to do, is they're bringing every facet of our life into their tech. So it's not just, you know, you have to be a super niche geek to really enjoy a computer. It's, these devices are for everybody, and they're built to, you know, to encompass every part of your life. HomeKit, the Apple TV, your iPhone, the watch. They're really, you know, a couple of years from now, we may see more on CarPlay and maybe even a car. They're really branching out.
We said like there's an off chance a Trans Am with the Siri thing in the front of it will drive on with Hasselhoff.
Yeah, it'll just run.
Siri Turbo Boost. Yeah, all right. So we're gonna do a quick Monica. We have to get going because Serenity is technically on vacation, though she was to join us today. But we're gonna get to your questions really quickly.
I'm having fun with my vacation.
So Israel Sandoval, he says, I'm worried that my 16 gigabyte 6 Plus won't have enough memory for iOS 9 to update. Should I be worried?
No, you should not, because for one thing, iOS 9 is going to involve basically, I forget if it's called app thinning for the system, but the system package is going to be a lot smaller for physical space. If you're
like
talking
1.7
about
or 1.9, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be really tiny. If you're talking specifically about on-device storage, like RAM, I think you probably should be okay with a past device. Did you say iPhone 6 or iPhone 5S?
He has the iPhone 6 Plus, so I think he's
You
worried
should
about
be- you should-
downloading and installing it like
yeah,
last year.
exactly. I think downloading and installing, you should be fine. If you're worried about that, we do a yearly guide on, thinning your storage before upgrading. If you're like, I have 0.2 gigabytes available on my 16 gig phone, it'll be okay.
Yeah, and there's always iTunes if in a pinch.
There's always iPhone or iTunes.
Nicholas Costa wants to know, will you be able to pre-order an unlocked iPhone 6s? And this is a question because some countries do and some countries don't, and it can vary year to year. I've always been able to do it in Canada, although some years we didn't know that going in. You discovered it at the last minute. In the US, it's sometimes been staggered, and I don't think there's any way to know until we know.
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait. I do think it seems more promising this year than it has in past years. We're seeing a lot more carriers offering unlocked phones and non 2-year subscription plan locked phones. So there's a greater possibility, but we can't say for sure until we actually see the release and what they're planning on rolling out. I know T-Mobile did pseudo unlocking last year where they offered basically it was with a T-Mobile contract, but it was technically an unlocked phone. You could use it on any network.
Yeah. So if you're in the US, stay tuned. Mika Sargent, we already answered. He was asking, what are we planning to upgrade to? Which models and storage and colors are we going to get? So thanks, Mika. We can just check earlier in the show. Eric Pancheco. Do you guys jailbreak your iPhones? And I don't know if you saw it this week or not, Ren, but there was a story about how thousands and tens of thousands of credentials were stolen from jailbroken iPhones. And that's the primary reason why I don't jailbreak anymore. I used to jailbreak when I felt that there was significant additional functionality to be had. And now I feel like iOS does everything that I need. Not perfectly, but enough that I don't want to go through the hassle of jailbreaking anymore. But the more important thing is jailbreak literally means breaking the root jail of your iPhone. It's stripping off all the protections that Apple has built in order to install custom software. And it's sort of like if you buy a really secure house and then you take the front door off, that's fine if you are skilled enough to defend that house on your own. And some people are awesome at InfoSec and development, and that phone is as secure as any other phone in the world. Most people are just casual, and it's not. So it's not something that we recommend anymore, at least on my end.
No, BB8 says no. BB8 says do not. It's flashing its warning lights. Do not jailbreak your phone. Honestly, I don't see that there are that many advantages anymore to jailbreaking. Unless you really love getting your data stolen. There used to be all kinds of advantages. I used to jailbreak my iPad because you couldn't do a TV out signal when I was trying to do drawing demonstrations. But now, Apple's integrated a lot of the things that jailbreakers have asked for and demanded. So, I mean, it's a good exercise. If you want to see what a jailbroken phone looks like, if you're curious about the back end of the iPhone and you want to poke in that kind of area, that's definitely an option. But I wouldn't connect that kind of a phone to the network. I would keep that offline and just play with it.
Yeah, I used to jailbreak because I wanted an iPhone in Canada and Apple didn't supply them. And then I wanted notifications and quick replies, and I got all that stuff. So I'm good. Dimitri wants to know, when can we expect Apple Pay in the rest of Europe, this year or next?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't know if we have a distinct answer for that. Has Tim Cook said anything? I mean, basically the rule in question here is listen to what Tim Cook is saying on the financial calls and listen to just his general, Apple Pay spiels every time they do an event. Usually he will drop something like, oh, it's coming to the UK later this year. It's coming here. So I think unless in lieu of an official announcement, or overzealous rumors blogs, I'm afraid we don't really have anything for you on that.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of it is these are unknowns until they're known. Like, we saw recently that Apple's still negotiating with Australia because the amount of money that the Australian companies, retailers make off credit cards is less, so they don't want to pay Apple as much. And there's banking regulations in Canada. In every country, they have to go in and they have to negotiate these things, and those deals aren't made. It's a horrible answer until they're made. So yeah, Apple doesn't really know a lot of these countries yet. They'll put them in line as soon as they can. But it takes work and it takes time, and it makes me so sad because we have all the infrastructure here and we can't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I have American Express on my Apple Pay, and Canada does not take American Express through NFC. Sad.
Yeah, but you can't.
No, can't use it so close so far.
No, it's very sad.
Angel Gonzalez wants to know, when do you think watchOS 2 will be released?
I think watchOS 2 will be released around the same time as iOS 9. I think there will be a package deal.
Yeah, I think they still have to be at this point.
Yep.
You will, this is not, he didn't ask this, but you will be able to run watchOS 2 on an iOS 8 device, but you will not be able to benefit from all of the stuff
All the
that's in
extra.
watchOS 2.
Yep.
Yeah, so that it seems like they just have to be commingled. Aaron wants to know, this is our last question, and we already answered this too. Will the iPhone 6s have a camera bump? Unless, and this was before you arrived here, Serenity, so I was pointing out how when Apple keeps the device thin without a bump, you get the MacBook FaceTime camera and everyone's upset. And when they put a good camera in, it requires a bump, you get the camera bump and everybody gets upset.
Yeah.
You're hitting your head against the walls of physics here, so yes.
Frustrating. Problems. Such problems.
We need breakthroughs. We need breakthroughs in quantum lens technology is what we need.
Clearly. We need just swap outable lenses. Just pull it out and put it back in.
Ooh, that would be awesome. BB-8, get on that.
Yes.
So Ren, we're both going to be in San Francisco next week.
We are. Yeah. I fly in Sunday night. And Renee, I think you're coming. Are you coming in Saturday?
Sunday night as well.
Sunday? Yep. And we will have all of the news from this week's event and how-tos and analysis and all of the awesome things that you have come to expect from iMore and hopefully more. I'm debating.
We'll do the show at some point, right? I'm not sure we know exactly when yet, but it'll be after the event, and probably as soon as we can after the event.
I'll attach a GoPro to BB-8 and just have him go around and.
Does he have a camera? Is that a lens?
He does. Sadly, he does not. However, I'm so sorry, BB-8. This is detachable. This is magnetic with little tiny wheels.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So in theory, they could offer a little top upgrade if down the line it was like, oh yes, we want to put a camera in here, but it was too cost prohibitive in the first generation. But he can holographically augment, send out holographic messages from his lens. So if you hold your iPhone up in front of him, he will, on your iPhone, display a holographic message.
Aww.
It's pretty cool. Do you want to close out let's see if I can close out the show with talking to him. Okay, BB-8. Nope.
Oh, he's a quiet type.
Yeah, he's still learning. Okay, BB-8. It's asking me to prompt and it doesn't understand. Oh well.
Well, next time we'll work on it.
Yep.
So Serenity, Apple Music book still available?
Apple Music Book still available, selling well. Thank you for telling your friends. Tell more of your friends, people who are looking to upgrade to Apple Music or are confused about any aspect of the service, about iTunes, about the music app, want to know tips and tricks, troubleshooting, how-tos. We got you covered. It's on the iBook store. It's on Kindle. $5, less than a cappuccino. Totally worth your time. And if you can leave a review on iTunes if you've already purchased the book and you liked it, that would be swell because that really helps us out.
Awesome. Thank you. We would really appreciate that. Serenity, if people want to find you, if they want to talk to you on the internet, where can they go?
They can find me at Settern, SETTERN on Twitter, as well as on Instagram. And I'm roaming around on vacation this weekend, but I will be in San Francisco next week and then back in the lovely Boston metro area after that.
Awesome. You can find me at Renee Ritchie. You can find all of us at iMore. You can find this show on iTunes. Like with the book, if you can, please leave a review. Please leave a rating. It encourages iTunes to feature us, and that lets us find more great people like you. If you want the video version, you can go to youtube.com/iMoreVideo, although that might be changing. We might put the show in its own YouTube channel just to make it nice and clean and easy to find, but stay tuned about that. In the meantime, we are jetting off to San Francisco. We will bring you all the details again Wednesday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Keep it locked on iMore. It's going to be one hell of a ride.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ren.
Thank you. Goodbye, all. BB-8 says goodbye.